Hello and welcome to Chattin. Today we'll be speaking to Yemi about all of her creative antics in the city, but more so about her journey and creative discipline. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation I had with Yemi. I guess what I really wanted to know, I was really interested to sort of speak to you and for you to share some of your creativeness with me and to anyone watching. I guess first of all, give a little introduction to yourself and the work that you do.
So, my name is Yemi Bolatiwa. I am a freelance musician, but I'm also a community engagement officer. So, my community engagement officer role is within Z Arts, a children, family, and youth hub in Hume. And I've been there for nearly 4 years doing a vast amount of creative projects in the community across Greater Manchester and more, but I'll probably say more about that later. And then alongside it, and kind of my evening, when I put my evening hat on, or like I guess weekends as well. That's what I used to gig a lot. I'm a singer, so I perform everything from kind of like cabaret shows in restaurants, that kind of stuff, up to weddings, festivals, my own music, and then a lot of vocal work for record labels, recording work. Done a voiceover recently, but nothing official. But that was more of a COVID adaptation kind of piece of work. So yeah, freelance musician, community, fusion.
Cool. And is singing something that you've always done, like, or when did you begin with your singing and sort of getting about with that?
Well, for me, this is always an interesting one because no, it wasn't. I sang when I was a kid and when I was in secondary school, did a couple of talent shows, and then it wasn't something that I necessarily thought I'd ever have a career in. So I gave it up and I went and studied marketing and moved to Manchester and I got a marketing job. It was all grand, and then I realised that my heart wasn't in any of it. I ended up leaving to go and do a social anthropology master's, so understanding like cultures in the world and really, really interesting topic, amazing topic. I would recommend anyone to just pick up an anthropology book one day. And then during that process, I actually met a load of local grassroots musicians from the Manchester scene. So that was when I was about 23. And through that, I started to do open mics and little DIY gigs and all these kind of little things that happen in the small kind of pockets of the suburbs of South Manchester, which is such a great thing. And slowly but surely, I kept getting asked to do more gigs or do more things. And we had this band, and we started getting offered to do festivals. And slowly, I was like, I'm working, but I'm doing this other stuff, and maybe I should kind of take a leap of faith. And I actually ended up doing that. Quit my job when I was about 26, and I just went back to bar work and decided to be a freelance musician. And 4 to 5 years later, obviously COVID considered, it's my full-time job. But I've always been the kind of person that likes to do loads of things, as my story probably hints to. So I have found that working alongside Z Arts while I pursue my music career has opened up more opportunities, made me more of a kind of versatile creative musician, not just someone who sings or just someone who records, but someone who can facilitate and teach and all these kind of other skills that came along with working with a charity. So that's kind of the long and short of it. Kind of long, sorry.
No, that's great. I think it's really, what I find really interesting is to see how there isn't one set route into anything creative. Like, you could work with someone who does a really similar thing to you, but you've both come from totally different like paths. And I think that's really interesting to hear your specific journey with that. With your work at Z Arts, and what's the title that you have there? Sorry.
So it's engagement officer, and it's not just in the community, but the community is definitely my main remit. Anything in the local residential and Greater Manchester area in terms of youth projects, arts projects, creative learning projects. Not necessarily schools; that's someone else's department. But I have done some work in schools as well. That always there's a bit of crossover there. But also just engagement within the building. So who do we work with? Who do our workshops go to? Who's participating? Who isn't? And then kind of cultural engagement as well, like what kind of communities are we looking to work with, what kind of work should we put on to be more representative of the local community. I don't know if you know Hugh much, but it's It's definitely got a very rich culture and mixed heritage, which we're proud to be part of. So these kind of things come into all parts of my job, and my job is organising it all, coordinating it, and sometimes delivering the
I
workshops.
think it's interesting to see about like your balance and how I imagine, and from what you've said, they both seem quite rewarding in different ways. Like you can exercise your creative passion with your music, but you're also doing some really great work with the engagement that you're doing. I think that what's interesting is like that for me personally, I was like, yeah, do I go for a job now that's like maybe more of a commitment, which is what I'm worried about because I'm so freelance in my head.
Yeah.
I guess for you, like, do you find that that balance works well? Is it a common thing? Do you know other people that have that balance, or is it just like
Um,
to you in the way you work?
yeah, good question. I actually think that a lot of people that I know are kind of doing either or. But then a lot of musicians were teachers as well, teaching as well, and that kind of links in quite well. But not all musicians want to teach, actually. A lot of creatives, especially in terms of curriculum and standard teaching, it's really restrictive and it's all very administrative and bureaucracy and stuff. And, some musicians just want to be musicians. But as we've learned from kind of the last year and stuff, you do have to be adaptive. And I cannot say enough for working with a charity as open and flexible, creative with the way that they manage their staff and the way that they run their program, that have allowed me to do both things at the same time. There are so many ways you can use your skills, and it's not selling out to just to teach or to work for an organization. I think there's a lot of creativity that can be there if you
Yeah,
find that place.
I think it's really, it's like, I mean, I see a lot of, I mean, I know I got this for sure in my own life where it was like, if you're going to go down a creative route, it's like, it seemed to be something that was quite a leap. And some quite like, oh, are you sure about that? Because it's maybe not the most stable. But what I think is really interesting and something that isn't really clear to start off with is that you can have roles that are supportive that still allow you to have, your main passion, your main art form, and be supported with another sort of creative industry role that isn't necessarily generically connected, but it is in a way you make it your own. I think that's really valuable to know because it's like, if not, it's like, right, there's a choice now. You've got to make money and go for a career, train to be a lawyer instead, or be creative and have no money. But that's not the be all and end all. I think it's really good to hear that there are other ways to support yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, don't get me wrong, it is a leap. Like you said, it is a leap. And I had a few, a good couple of years ago when I was literally juggling five restaurant bar jobs just on random rotas and just to obviously pay my rent and get by while I pursued this bits and bobs of music work here and there. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have got, once you say yes to one gig, another three or four gigs come out.
Yeah.
Once you say yes to, those other 3 or 4 gigs have their own other gigs that get offered to you as well. And basically, you've got to be a bit of a yes man. You've got to have a massive bit of commitment, loads of hard
And I
work.
think as well with thinking about all of that, I was wanting to know a little bit more as well. With your role at Z Arts, are there any projects specifically you've worked on that really stick out to you, like to sort of give an idea of what you achieve and what you do within the role that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about the most recent stuff that I'm working on, which is a project called Mix It Up, and it's like a year long, 40-week long project that is set in 5 different areas in Greater Manchester in youth clubs. So it's a partnership. We applied for funding with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Manchester, who are basically like the umbrella label for all the youth clubs and youth centres across all of the boroughs. We selected 5 clubs to do some engagement work with, basically extending what we do in the heart of the city outside of into the outer realms of the city, or different boroughs. And it's basically like one of my main projects. And it was been great. Obviously, it's been on hold since COVID happened, but it was a very big outreach program in terms of like saying, okay, we do this in the building. Now we're going to do it on a grand scale over a whole year with 5 different places, almost taking what we do to them and obviously helping them run it as well and all these kind of things. So that's a huge project that I'm so proud to be part of, and that Z Arts helped, obviously in terms of applying for funding. I did it within the organisation, within my role, but it was all because Z Arts has so much experience that we were able to put together a bid and make it a success.
What has been like your sort of like most memorable or sort of your best gig like as a musician? Like, is any that stand out to you?
I mean, like I've had some really. I've got to say, okay, so back in 2013 when I was kind of starting out, I'd been working with a few DJs and producers, and it had led me to a few cool opportunities, kind of beyond my experience, I reckon, at the time. But I ended up doing it, and I sang to 5,000 people at Boomtown Festival.
Wow.
Which is a festival down in Gloucestershire, near Bristol, which is like a bass culture, hip hop, bass culture, reggae, dub music festival. And I just like remember looking out and being like, wow, this is like, probably it's still the most amount of people I've ever sung to. I was singing with the DJ. It was really, really upbeat, lively thing. It was amazing. And that was quite a long time ago. But I have done some stuff more recently that for more kind of personal reasons, say it's like the person that I'm supporting or whatever, that means more. But I think that's probably one of the biggest highlights. And that happened quite early on. That probably gave me the energy I wanted to be like, I want to do this more.
Cool. I guess my question I have for you as well is like, the purpose for these videos is to hopefully share different creative paths for specifically young people wanting to get involved with the sort of creative industry. If you were in like sort of an assembly now or at a college or uni, speaking to a group of young people that were really interested in your career path, what bit of advice or what would you sort of show them towards to sort of give them that little push?
My very first thing would be like collaboration is key. Work with other people. You'll only learn. You'll only learn. You'll only share your learning, and it always leads to something. Collective working as an ethos is one of the best ways in any kind of creative or arts industry form. Essentially, because you don't just get into your head. You're able to express your ideas and bounce off. And collaboration is just really important. I would also say don't okay, I'm not saying don't dream big. What I'm saying is wanting to headline Glastonbury isn't really a goal. Wanting to become the best artist that you can be, and that is more of a goal. So for me, the way I don't get distracted, and I have managed to have some really amazing opportunities. I got played on Radio 1 this year, and I was like, wow, like when did that happen? And I was like, sorry to name drop, but just to show like how things can kind of slowly snowball over time, as opposed to this one like, oh, I want to headline Glastonbury and then what? How are you going to get there? How are you going to maintain that? And the way you maintain that is by putting as much as you can into your creative art, collaborating with other people, and just saying yes to things. Saying yes, it doesn't, just say yes and give it a go. And if it doesn't work out, learn from that and then say yes to the next thing and learn again.
Oh, brilliant. I think really that sort of brings us to a conclusion, and I really have enjoyed speaking to you and sort of finding out your creative practice and your journey. I think you have such a great energy, and I'm sure that comes through in all of your work. But again, I hope to meet you in person when we're out of this full lockdown. But again, thanks very much for being part of the Chattin MCEP partnership and having a chat with us today. I hope that some people watching it are now enlightened and inspired.
Yay! Join arts and culture, please. We need you. We need people to make it happen.